Greetings, curiosity seekers, seekers of things miscellaneous from our collective history. Today is February 9th, and let's talk to you of it. It is February 9th, and born on this day was Daniel Bernoulli, a celebrated Swiss mathematician in 1700. C.F. Volney, a French philosopher, in 1757 was born. Died on this day Agnes Sorel in 1450 in Memel, mistress to a French king, I believe. Bishop Hooper burnt at Gloucester in 1555. Dr. Roland Taylor burnt at Hadley in 1555. Henry Lord Darnley, consort of Mary Queen of Scots, murdered 1567. A bloody day indeed. Feast day of St. Apollonia, virgin martyr at Alexandria in 249. St. Nicephorus, martyr at Antioch, 260. And St. Atracta, virgin in Ireland, 5th century. Speaking of bloody things, let's talk of the murder of David Rizzio and the permanency of bloodstains. On the evening of the 9th of March, 1565, David Rizzio, the Italian secretary of Mary of Scotland, was murdered in Holyrood Palace by certain Protestant leaders of her court with the assistance of her husband, Lord Darnley. The poor foreigner was torn from her side as she sat at supper and dragged through her apartments to the outer door, where he was left on the floor for the night dead with 56 wounds, each conspirator having been forced to give a stab in order that all might be equally involved in guilt and consequent danger. The Queen, who was then pregnant of her son, James I of England, deeply resented the outrage. Indeed, there is reason to believe that it affected her so as to become the turning point of her life, giving her in the first place a strong sense of the unworthiness of her husband, who perished less than a year after. The floor at the outer door of the Queen's apartments presents a large, irregular, dark mark, which the exhibitor of the palace states to be the blood of the unfortunate Rizzio. Most strangers hear with a smile of a blood stain lasting 3 centuries, and Sir Walter Scott himself has made it the subject of a jocular passage in one of his tales, representing a Cockney traveller as trying to efface it with the patent scouring drops which it was his mission to introduce into use in Scotland. Alleged examples of bloodstains of old standing, both upon wood and stone, are reported from many places. We give a few extracted from the notes and queries. Amidst the horrors of the French Revolution, 80 priests were massacred in the chapel of the convent of the Carmelites at Paris. The stains of blood are still to be seen on the walls and floors. At Cothel, a mansion on the banks of the Tamar, the marks are still visible of the blood spilt by the lord of the manor, when, for supposed treachery, he slew the warder of the drawbridge. About 50 years ago, there was a dance at Curtin in Lindsay. During the evening, a young girl broke a blood vessel and expired in the room. I have been told that the marks of her blood are still to be seen. At the same town, about 20 years ago, an old man and his sister were murdered in an extremely brutal manner, and their cottage floor was deluged with the blood, the stains of which are believed yet to remain. Today is, or I should say could be, Shrove Tuesday, but Shrove Tuesday in 2009 will fall on February 24th. Nevertheless, it is entered under February 9th in the Book of Days. Shrove Tuesday derives its name from the ancient practice in the Church of Rome of confessing sins and being shrived or shrove, meaning obtaining absolution. Being the day prior to the beginning of Lent, it may occur on any one Tuesday between the 2nd of February and the 8th of March. In Scotland, it is called Fastens Even, but is little regarded in that Presbyterian country. The character of the day, as a popular festival, is mirthful. It is a season of carnival-like jollity and drollery. Welcome, merry Shrovetide, truly sings Master Silence. The merriment began, strictly speaking, the day before, being what was called Collop Monday, from the practice of eating collops of salted meat and eggs on that day. Then did the boys begin their Shrovetide perambulation in quest of little treats which their senior neighbors used to have in store for them, singing, "Shrovetide is nigh at hand, and I be conic a shroving. Pray, dame, something, an apple or dumpling." When Shrove Tuesday dawned, the bells were set a-ringing, and everybody abandoned himself to amusement and good humor. All through the day there was a preparing and devouring of pancakes, as if some profoundly important religious principle were involved in it. The pancake and Shrove Tuesday are inextricably associated in the popular mind and in old literature. Before being eaten, there was always a great deal of contention among the eaters to see which could most adroitly toss them in the pan. Shakespeare makes his clown in All's Well That Ends Well speak of something being as fit as a pancake for Shrove Tuesday. It will be recollected that the parishioners of the Vicar of Wakefield religiously ate pancakes at Shrove Tide. Here also a quaint old friend, the water poet, quote, Shrove Tuesday, at whose entrance in the morning all the whole kingdom is in quiet, but by that time the clock strikes 11, which, by the help of a knavish sexton, is commonly before 9, there is a bell rung called pancake bell, the sound whereof makes thousands of people distracted and forgetful either of their manners or humanity. Then there is a thing called wheaten flour, which the cooks do mingle with water, eggs, spice, and other magical enchantments, and then they put it by little and little into a frying pan of boiling suet, where it makes a confused, dismal hissing, like the snakes in the reeds of Acheron, until at last, by the skill of the cook, it is transformed into the form of a flapjack called a pancake, which, ominous incantation, the ignorant people do devour very greedily. It was customary to present the first pancakes to the greatest slut, or liabet of the party, which commonly falls to the clog's share at last, for no one will own it their due. Some allusion is probably made to the later custom in a couplet placed opposite Shrove Tuesday in Poor Robin's Almanac for 1677. Pancakes are eat by greedy gut, and Hob and Madge run for the slut. In the time of Elizabeth, it was practiced at Eton for the cook to fasten a pancake to a crow, the ancient equivalent of a knocker, upon the school door. At Westminster School, the following custom is observed at this day. At 11 a.m., a verger of the abbey in his gown bearing a silver baton emerges from the college kitchen, followed by the cook of the school in his cap carrying a pancake. On arriving at the schoolroom door, he announces himself the cook, and having entered the schoolroom, he advances to the bar, which separates the upper school from the lower one, twirls a pancake in the pan, and then tosses it over the bar into the upper school among a crowd of boys who scramble for the pancake, and he who gets it unbroken and carries it to the deanery demands the honorarium of a guinea, sometimes 2 from the abbey funds, though the custom is not mentioned in the abbey statutes. The cook also receives 2 guineas for his performance. Also among the revels which marked this day, football seems in most places to have been conspicuous. The London apprentices enjoyed it in Finsbury Fields. It was conducted with such animation that careful householders had to protect their windows with hurdles and bushes. There is perhaps no part of the United Kingdom where this Shrove-type sport is kept up with so much energy as in the village of Scone near Perth in Scotland. The men of the parish assemble at the cross, the married on one side and the bachelors on the other. A ball is thrown up, and they play from 2 o'clock till sunset. Shrovetide, also known as Maslenitsa, amongst the Russians, who also eat pancakes at this time of year. Thank you for joining us at the Book of Days. Come back and see us. Why? Tomorrow. Adieu.